A court ruling over the weekend that many of President Trump's tariffs are not legal. And just hours ago, the president saying he will appeal to the Supreme Court tomorrow and ask for an expedited ruling. For more, let's bring in Matt Gold. He is former Deputy Assistant U.S. Trade Representative for North America and currently an adjunct professor at Fordham School of Law and a consultant for banks and funds on ongoing U.S. trade talks. Matt, great to get your expert perspective here. It seems to me like we have, for the first time in a long time in American history, a federal government where the separation of powers is being reshaped by the executive's agility. This administration willing to fight battles it might lose because Congress is slow and the courts are careful. Does that mean that investors should sort of bet that these tariffs will stick around for a while, even if they're not completely permanent?
Yeah, in my opinion, they're not going to be permanent. The Constitution gives 100% of the authority to impose tariffs to the legislative branch of government. And under the Constitution, the legislative branch of government is allowed to delegate little bits and pieces of that power to the executive branch, but it's not allowed to delegate that power too broadly. So there's always two questions that are asked when a president decides to impose tariffs under one of the statutes that delegates authority. First of all, in the words of that statute, does the Congress actually give the president the power to impose those tariffs on those goods at that magnitude for that period of time? But also, if it does, is that grant of power just too broad and therefore unconstitutional? So the president went and used the International Emergency Economic Powers Act for these tariffs, which the president called reciprocal tariffs and trafficking tariffs. They are the bulk of the recent tariffs President Trump has imposed since taking office, and he never had the authority to impose these.
Well,
he imposed
Matt,
these, yes.
The Republican Party has control of both houses of Congress, and the president has an unusual amount of influence over the party, even in that circumstance. They've been known to kind of shift around the procedural rules over the past couple of years. Could they affirm these tariffs in what amounts to a procedural vote and kind of make this whole issue moot?
Well, they'd have to enact a new statute. Or revise an existing statute, which in its terms actually grants the president the power to do this. But even if the Congress did that, that delegation of power would be unconstitutional and it would get struck down by the court anyway because it's too broad. These tariffs are being imposed on almost every type of good out of 7,800 types of goods and originating in almost every country in the world, close to 200 countries. And that is so broad that there's no possibility that Congress can delegate that much tariff authority to the executive branch and have it be constitutional. So whether you're reading an existing statute or whether Congress revises the statute to say that, it's still going to be unconstitutional. Remember something. The framers of the Constitution didn't just distribute the powers to three branches. They balanced the powers among three co-equal branches. So you cannot make a move that so substantially shifts one of the powers given to one of the branches without a constitutional amendment.